Hello and welcome back to the land of SIKA, and we are now about to attack the Rebellion faction. Now, right after this, I'm actually going to be making my way over to the Aryans, because obviously they're pretty close by. I was actually kind of surprised when they first declared war in the previous episode how close they actually are. Thankfully, I've just remembered actually that I stole, let's just say, I borrowed Malefon's arrows, and hopefully I'm going to be able to do some wonderful work with them, and that's going to give me some much needed additional experience. Generally, any single time I can get decent headshots and kills, which is obviously what these arrows are hopefully going to help me to do, I will be able to gain just that much more and hopefully get to the much needed 275 in bows. But obviously at the moment that is a far off dream, and it's going to take me a bit of time to get there. But thankfully, what's really cool about fighting these guys is generally they just don't have anything. Obviously, they're rebels. They don't have anything at all to speak of in terms of their own combat strength. They have a lot of recruits, as you can quite clearly tell. I'm basically killing only recruits and footmen here and there. And there's a horseman. Well, that was a rarity and a half, wasn't it? But yes, generally any single time I can get into a battle with these guys, it's basically free real estate, but not in the literal sense, of course, because we do have our settlement back at home. And yes, so what we're going to do is we're going to go on a bit of a skirmish. We're going to go and attack the Aryans a little bit after this, and hopefully the war is going to continue for a little bit of time, because obviously if it doesn't continue for as long as we need it to, that's obviously a bit of a problem, because I have a bit of a money situation. I mean, I think you know that, I have a bit of a money situation most of the time, but generally it's a bit, I wouldn't say it's worse now, but I do have a lot of newly recruited tier 2 units. I recruited another 40 tier 2 units into my army, and I thought to myself, okay, yeah, that's good. That's actually not too bad, that's actually okay. I think we might be all right if I just recruit 40, because it only costed me like what, I think it was like 5,600 or something like that, and I thought, okay, yeah, that's surely going to be enough. I'm gonna take this guy prisoner, actually. I think we kind of have to do that nowadays, and we're just going to level those guys up. But yes, then I didn't think about the fact that, look at this, look at my money situation. I had 16,000 or 17,000, and me recruiting those tier 2 units has now made things a little bit close, maybe a little bit too close for my liking. But you can see here my settlement is actually providing us with 300 gold every single day, which I gotta say is actually amazing. And if we can level up my marketplace once again, we will be in an even better situation. I'm actually just going to be auto-resolving against this guy. We'll just take his prisoners, just get a bunch of people leveled up. And that's the thing. If people die, that's actually not that big a deal. If people do actually end up, being completely eliminated from my army, that's not bad, because that actually makes things a little bit easier. Oh, that guy literally escaped. Are you serious? Just when I was on my way. Just when I was on my way to the tavern to sell our prisoners. That is absolutely wonderful. That always happens, doesn't it? Okay, so there we go. There's 3,100. As you can see, we are once again still only gaining 2,200. Not entirely sure what is happening with that, but the loot, on the other hand, is giving me 6,100. Oh yeah, that's exactly what we want to see. And we can also enter the land of the banished again if we want to. But I'm not entirely sure whether it's even worth me doing that. Because if I do enter the land of the banished, what does it actually provide me? Well, it gets me around 50 dinars every single time I get a kill. And I can kill quite a few enemies. I think I can kill, I don't even know, maybe 20, maybe 25 demons if I am not swamped almost immediately upon entering the zone. So that's obviously a pretty big caveat to that. If I do get swarmed, then I'm going to get killed almost instantly. But you do have to bear in mind that taking into account these kinds of things, it's actually kind of interesting, because if you take into account the fact that the game itself is not running, it is at a standstill when you are in the land of the banished. So theoretically, you cannot have your wages get taken, and that's actually really good, right? Yeah, so that's the kind of thing that I'm kind of a bit, whoa, wait a minute, what just happened here? Yeah, something pretty big just happened, as you can see. But yeah, so that's actually something that's really good about the land of the banished, because obviously, if the time is not passing within the game, then no money can get taken from me, which is actually great, right? Yeah, but apart from that, that's pretty much it. It does a relatively similar job of giving me money like the arena might give me money, you see? That's the main thing to consider. Is it better than the arena? I don't think so personally, but it does also give me resources at the same time. So if I do want to get a big amount of resources at some point or another, and I just want to focus on doing that, I could either go into the land of the banished and then spend time in my own resource gathering area within my settlement itself, because obviously that, in my opinion, is probably the best way to do it, and I'm probably going to be spending a little bit of extra time off screen once the wars have been, shall we say, resolved a little bit here, because obviously we are dealing with a pretty significant war at the moment against two different factions, no less. So that's pretty significant, you know. Two wars on, well, they're both coming from the same direction, so it's not really two fronts, is it? But yeah, the point is we're still having to deal with two separate attacking forces, and they are going to have different diplomatic options as well as a result of that. And that's actually really cool. I wonder whether that is part of 1.8 or whether that's part of the mod. I'm actually not entirely sure, but having the ability for our forces, or shall we say for any force in the game, any faction in the game, to actually split off into a variety of different factions, that's actually really cool in my opinion. I actually really like that. I think that's super, super fun because it provides so much more dynamicism to how factions are going to be handled in the future. So that's something that I think has been improved. Whether it's by the mod or whether it's 1.8 doesn't really matter because it's a great function and I'm very much, you know, approving of it. Some of the time when the game implements a bunch of things, and I'm talking about in terms of patches here, that Tale Worlds tends to do, I look at some of the things, you know. I look at some of the things. Yes, yeah. Oh, look at that. I'm being so incredibly specific. Very nice. Yes, I look at some of the things with which to say, I look at some of the features that they implement, and I think to myself, okay, well, that's okay, you know, that's a pretty nice feature, but generally I would prefer X thing, or Y thing, or, you know, whatever. And in that case, in terms of the factions splitting off and becoming other factions and all kinds of manners of things happening in that regard, I actually think that's amazing. I think that is super, super cool. And that actually adds so much to the whole experience, because at one point you think to yourself, oh, look at this faction. It's so incredibly large. How am I ever going to, how am I ever going to handle this? How am I going to deal with them? Well, thankfully, you don't actually have to worry about that any further. You don't have to worry about a massive faction gaining so much ground that they're just going to completely dominate the remainder of the map. And that also gives me a little bit of pause too, and a bit of food for thought there as well, because if you think about the fact that maybe, just maybe, that is also, these new mechanics are also going to apply to your very own faction. So for example, let's say you actually do get into a situation where your faction owns half the map, and then you're going to think, oh, someone has just caused a rebellion of some kind, and now I am without 5 of my most powerful fiefs, or something along those lines, you know? So now it is much more a case of being careful. You have to be careful with what you do with your fiefs, because if you, and I am guilty of this, 100%, I am definitely guilty of this in the past. If you, like me, have done these things in the past where you have been the leader of your very own faction and you have decided, oh, I'm gonna give this fief, and this fief to the same person, and they all happen to be a different culture or something like that, so rebellion is much more likely, and so on and so forth. Let's just say that you actually did that, and then that person decides, I'm gonna rebel. And then as soon as they rebel, boom, now you have to deal with your very own opposing faction that is much bigger than just a separate rebellion. It's not a separate rebellion with just one town. It is actually an entire faction that you're now going to have to deal with. And that definitely adds, as I say, so much more tension to the whole thing. It really makes the experience into much more of a much larger consideration, shall we say. Because you'd think, oh, yeah, you know what, I'm just going to give, this fief and this fief to these guys, and then that's it. And that's how it used to be in the previous versions, if it is indeed one of those things that is added in 1.8. But if it's due to the mod, then obviously I'm praising the modding team, which is absolutely fine in itself too, because, it's always good to do that. The modding community is doing things completely out of their own passion for the game, and I absolutely love that as well. But otherwise, yeah. That definitely gives me food for thought, because that means that if I do actually end up being the leader of my very own faction at some point in the future, I'm going to have to take that into account. I'm going to have to be very careful about who I provide fiefs, because if I provide a fief to someone that is going to be devious or a little bit of a backstabbing kind of fellow, then you never know what's going to happen. Maybe he's going to create his very own faction himself and then seek to murder me. So that is definitely something to be very worried about in the future. But anyway, let's just try and tackle this fellow. Maybe I'll be able to deal some good damage with my polearm now that I've run out of arrows. Ugh. Yes, I'm really, really bad with this weapon, by the way. Kind of a reason why I'm thinking maybe I should try to get a slightly better weapon. Because apart from the fact that obviously it does blunt damage is pretty good against heavily armored units, and most of the time when you're fighting against, well, higher tier, obviously higher tier unit will equal, most of the time at least, higher protection values. And that means blunt damage with its high penetration values are also going to be very, very useful for you. But on the other hand, it does very middling damage in regards to pretty much every other unit type, or should we say armor type. So that's also something that we may want to be a little bit careful with. But anyway, all right. So I have very little money at the moment. I'm gonna attack this guy as well. I'm really kind of wondering what's happening with my mercenary wages, because my mercenary wages are apparently not doing anything. Or should we say they are not helping me in the least. It's probably because I'm consistently upgrading my forces, which I gotta say, I'm sorry, I know. I shouldn't be doing it. I really shouldn't be upgrading my own forces here, but generally I am just wanting to see all those eggplants. I just want to see all those eggplants. They are amazing, and I would love to be seeing more of them. So yeah, but anyway, we're just going to let those guys go. We're just going to swap these guys out, and there you go. We'll just take the rest, and then we'll just take all of the loot. Okay, fantastic. So now what we're going to do is I'm actually going to head on over to a town that is deeper into their territory. This might be a really bad idea, but you can see here, look at all these vassals. They are ripe for the picking. As long as I have my full army back at full strength, we should be pretty good to take on pretty much any of these. Oh, wait a minute. The Mogrians have declared war again. Oh, hello there. Okay, so it seems like we are in a pretty bad situation. My faction is in a pretty bad situation right now. I'm kind of worried about this, actually. It seems like they have now started a mercenary contract, and look at that. My prisoners literally only sell for 1,500. That is so incredibly bad. That's really, really bad in my opinion. Okay, so Melethvon, you're finally going to get some better armor. I'm terribly sorry for giving you such awful gear, or shall we say, leaving you with such awful gear for such a long period of time. But you know how it goes. Sometimes, you get a new companion and then all of a sudden you think to yourself, oh yeah, I need to outfit them. And then you completely forget until much later on. She looks absolutely terrible. I mean, she looks a lot better with the dress on, let's just say that. I mean, it is a noble dress and it is meant to look really cool. So yeah, unfortunately, she is not looking very, very good at the moment either. Okay, so, oh, there's actually better headpiece? What? What's actually going on here? I apparently have much better headpieces, and they are much lower in value. What? They're much lower in value. I sorted by value because I thought, oh yes, it must be the ones that are worth the most, right? That are definitely going to be the best, right? No, apparently that is not the case. Okay, funny. All right, so yeah, there we go. Otherwise, we're just going to be selling all of this. Look at that. 15,000, almost 800 gold as well. Very cool to see that. And I'm actually thinking of giving her more arrows because she does have some really good proficiencies. Oh, there is a noble bow and a half. Look at that. Look at that amazing bow right there. That is actually something that I might want to get myself because I was thinking of stealing her bow, if you recall. But I'm thinking, yeah, you know what? We're probably not going to do that. Let's just take a quick look. I can't afford it, by the way. I can't afford this. It's 31,000. I, for sure, cannot afford it. But look at how amazing it is. It is so, so good. And you can use it on a horse. I know that for a fact. So we're definitely going to be doing something with that in the future. I'm hopeful that I might actually be able to earn enough money while we are at war against all of these enemies. And then I might just be able to afford it and come back to this town and then see what we can do, you know? See what we can do about finally upgrading our bow. Because it's been a long time since we've done that, if you recall. I mean, it's been a while since we gained that simple short bow, isn't it? Yeah, it's been very, very long time. So anyway, we're just going to continue going in here. We're going to do another auto-resolve. I'm basically trying to auto-resolve to try to reduce reduce my population in my army at the moment and just try to maximize the amount of eggplants that I can possibly get, because the more eggplants I can get, the better, because that just basically means that I have the highest tier of unit, and then I can basically slowly scale my forces up so that they are just that much more powerful, and then I don't have to worry about thinking, oh, I have, I don't know, 15 tier 3s and 10 tier 4s and blah, tier 5s and so on and so forth. And it's just going to be so much easier for me to have a uniform organization. So it's just so much simpler for us to do it that way. I'm very much hoping that I will be able to maybe... Where is Lotus? Yes, I know, I married her off. Oh, she's actually pregnant as well. Oh no, that is, well, I guess that's good for her. It's fine for her and everything, but generally, if we want to steal her away, now we're breaking up a family. That is so sad, isn't it? Oh yes, that is very, very, very sad. But I am going to do it. I mean, oh, come on. How can I say no to 180 medicine proficiency? Yeah, well, from a gameplay standpoint... Oh, she's a fugitive? What? She's a fugitive? Oh, okay. Yeah, so she was last seen at this place, which is obviously an aggressive town. Well, that's good to know, isn't it? Okay, yeah, these guys are... I'm gonna try and do a little bit of damage to this one. Thank you very much. Hello there. And yeah, we're gonna go into a battle straight up. I have leveled up, so let's see what I can go for here. I don't want to go for any one-handed proficiency at the moment. I'm thinking we might go for some more charm skill because we are letting a lot of people go at the moment, and maybe charm skill is actually going to be kind of useful for us. But what I'm mostly seeing from charm skill right here is things that are increasing my recruitment levels, increasing my well, shall we say, reducing my item barter penalties. This is actually pretty good. For example, gain additional relation when you increase relationship with merciful lords and so on and so forth. All that stuff is very, very useful. But how useful is it for me? Probably not that useful, right? I'm thinking I'm actually going to increase roguery skill. I know, it seems a bit weird that I'd increase roguery skill, right? But here's the thing, if you actually increase roguery skill, if you haven't seen my Bannerlord series where I installed a mod called the Forbury mod, yes, yeah, that's what it's called. If you missed that series, then you won't know the power of roguery, although I did actually do another series where we leveled up roguery too. But generally, roguery is amazing for making money. That's the bottom line. So I'm actually going to go for that, and we'll see if I can maybe sell a couple of prisoners, maybe just to level it up a little bit faster. We do have a very small amount of cunning skill, or cunning attribute, unfortunately. So it is going to be a bit difficult for us to make it work, at least initially. But in the very distant future, when we have actually advanced roguery skill a little bit more, it might actually make sense. It might actually make sense, because then we're actually going to be starting to make massive amounts of money from loot. And that's the main thing that you want to be considering here, you know? Any single time you do damage against a vassal and you win that battle, you are going to just thank your lucky stars that you have roguery skill leveled up. And I'm not even talking about, you know, I'm not talking about 250 here, you know, I'm not talking about having it maxed out in any way, shape, or form. I think that's a bit overkill. But you can actually do amazing things even if you just have 100 in it, or 150. It's so much better to have that than it is to have, you know, just 15 or 20 in it or something. Because having that additional amounts of loot that you can get, it makes a difference. I know, it's kind of weird, right? It's kind of weird that you'd think that it doesn't make that much difference initially. But roguery skill is one of those skills, at least in my opinion. I'm not sure how much you're using it, for those of you that actually do play the game. But for me specifically, whenever I have used roguery, I have never had money problems. And it's actually really strange, because it's such a... at least for me, it feels like such a sleeper skill. And it's like one of those really underrepresented skills that is actually secretly very powerful. And that's something to bear in mind. So if you are someone that maybe hasn't tried using roguery skill in one of your playthroughs, then maybe it's time to give it a go, because it is definitely one of the best ways of making money. And you'd think, oh yeah, you know, a way to make money is usually things like, I don't know, do a tournament and stuff like that. But yeah, of course it is. But in many aspects, just doing a vassal battle and having... Can I talk to one of your prisoners? Ooh, that's cool. But yeah, and having that roguery skill and being able to get you know, a couple of pieces of extra loot here and there, especially if the loot itself is of higher value, it makes a massive difference. Anyway, can I talk to one of your prisoners? You? No, that's forbidden, he says. Okay, thank you, very good. I'm just gonna murder you then, sir. Thank you. Alright, just gonna let him go, and we can rest easy. Your captivity has ended. No thanks are necessary, sir. There we go. Okay, yeah, he's actually part of our faction, amusingly enough. So us letting him go was pretty good, because that means that he can now help our faction out, which is actually super good for us. Anyway, I'm kind of in a bit of a quandary here, because on the one hand, I want to go back here, and on the other hand, I don't, because I really want to sell my prisoners, and I am stuck between two places. Yeah, I also have full loot as well, by the way. Oh, hello there. Wait a minute. Oh, this is real bad, actually. Ooh, okay, that was really close. If those guys had been a little bit more on the ball, I would be doing battle against 472 units right now, plus any other random vassals that were in the area. If they had been a bit more alert, I'd be facing a possible defeat right now. But thankfully they weren't, so now we can basically just go on over here and we can sell all this wonderful stuff, and boom, we can make another 10,000. Oh yes, that's absolutely amazing. Alright, let me see here. Let me see if I can attack this guy. I'd actually like to attack Lotus's husband, not for that reason, not because he is her husband, but just generally because I would like to gain the money from the bounty, because if you recall, when we defeated him a numerous amount of times beforehand, he was actually giving us 10,000 gold every single time we would defeat him, and I can defeat him very easily because he usually runs around with around 30 or so units, so a simple auto-resolve is usually all it takes. So I actually would like to find him. I'm pretty sure he was actually incorporated into one of those armies back there, so I probably won't be able to now, but it's a good idea for your own sake as well, if you're in your own game, to take note of those things where you kind of know who's gonna be a little bit richer than the other vassals. You know what I mean? So if you know that for certain there is a vassal, yeah, I think generally I wouldn't recommend attacking a ruler of a faction, because obviously they're probably going to have a rather large army and they're going to be a bit difficult to deal with for the most part. But let's just say that Monchug, for example, Monchug from the base game. So Monchug is usually someone that has a massive amount of cash, and if he does in your game, then you may want to consider just preying upon him over and over to gain some easy money. And if you do that, then you can also invest that into some workshops and things, and that can actually make a pretty significant difference in itself. So if you're not a roguery person, and then you're not a tournament-going person or anything like that, then you may want to be a Monchug hunting person, or something along those lines. I'm not even talking about Monchug specifically, but you know. You can choose whoever you want to attack. Just like I'm deciding to attack Lotus's husband for no reason, apart from the fact that he is very rich. Yes. So we might want to do that after this, if we can. I'd like to actually eliminate some of these, if at all possible. I'm going to get shot in the face again, aren't I? Let's not get shot in the face. Oh, nice. That was a nice headshot. If ever I saw one. Thank you very much. There we go. Yes. Can I get a little bit more? Yes, I can. Can we get some kills? Ah, there we go. That's what I'm talking about. I really want to eliminate their crossbowmen. Their crossbowmen do seem to be quite strong, so being able to eliminate those would actually give me a rather nice experience boost, I think. They seem to have some pretty fancy armor on. Oh, no, that was a nice headshot. There we go. Oh, actually, you know what? Next time we go into that nearby marketplace, what I'd actually like to do is I would like to check out the pole arms, because there might actually be... I'm dead. Am I? Oh, no. I might be alive. Okay, I might be okay. Fantastic. All right. Oh, okay. Oh, look at me. I'm actually surviving after my mount dies. Oh, that's amazing. Hello there, sir. I have a mace. You don't really want to fight me when I have a mace, because I'm very fast. And you are slower than I am, sir. Okay, this guy is definitely going to prove to be a little bit more difficult. Or maybe not, because apparently they're very low in HP. They must have been shot multiple times by my forces. And they are now in such a bad state that we were able to beat them in... one versus many combat. Okay, I like it. Very nice. Very good. Okay, so we're gaining massive amounts of influence there as well. That's also going to help me in terms of my... Going to take these guys prisoner, by the way. But in terms of my my mercenary wages, you know, the more influence I can get, the better. Going to be taking all of this loot as well, even though I am now... I am over encumbered, basically. If this was Skyrim, I would be running around extremely slowly right now. But thankfully, oh, hello there. Okay. Okay, yeah, that is actually Lotus's husband right there. So he's actually running around with a much larger army now, unfortunately. Okay, can I go this way? Yes. Can you leave me alone? Yes. Well, they're not leaving me alone, but I am able to escape. Wow, you literally just gave me 850 gold. I've been here way too many times, I assume. That's probably the main reason why we are not getting a huge amount of cash. Also, I see. These things are the things that are causing me to get over encumbered. The grain and the fish. Wow. Why do I have so much food? I have 62 days worth of food. Are you serious? How is that actually a thing? How is that actually a thing? I should sell some of these saddles, I guess. But that's very minimal. I'm actually super surprised that this is so incredibly heavy. What is it? Flax? Flax might be doing it? A little bit. Tools? Let's sell some tools. No, we're still having a massive amount. Okay, let's sell some more fish then. And sell some more of this. Sell some more meat. There we go. And I now have 39 days. Okay, so there's 13,000. And look at that. Now I have enough money to be able to purchase the noble bow. And there it is. It is still waiting for us right there. Now, before we do that, I just want to actually take a quick look and see whether there is a polearm that we might want to use. Ooh, one of my favorite weapons ever is the Manavlion, and unfortunately it is extremely expensive, as you might expect. Yeah, there's a reason why it's one of my favorite weapons. It is absolutely amazing. It is really, really good. It may not seem really good, but the last time I used it, it was really, really fun. Maybe they've changed the stats on it or something like that. It seems a bit weird, actually. Ooh, this looks fun. Oh, that actually looks really fun too. As you can see, it is a polearm. It does 117 cutting damage with a length of 226. That is amazing. Unfortunately, I won't be buying that right now. I will be buying the Noble Bow instead. It is just far and away so much better than what I was using beforehand. We're just going to sell the other bows that I had available here as well. And I'm going to be paying 30,000 gold for this. That is kind of crazy. Yeah, that is kind of crazy. But we still have 14,000, and I think I'm still making decent. Yeah, look at how much money I'm making from the mercenary contract. That is now starting to pay off, which is really, really good. And there are so many enemies around here, I should be able to continue fighting them. But we're going to save that for the next episode, and we can test out our new bow as well. I thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time.